All right, Psalm 124. Let's call this one where? Nowhere, because this is a Psalm of David where he is recounting the ways in which Israel's enemies wanted to wipe them off of the map, saying in the if, when, then form, if it was not the Lord who had been on their side when their enemies rose up, then they would have been nowhere, essentially, or wiped out. And within that, he is going to lead into, of course, as David does, a bookend praise, thanking God at the beginning, thanking him at the end, and in the middle, saying something that caught my attention. But starting from verse 1, let's look at that if, when, then pattern. When in verse 1, he's going to say, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side, skipping down to the end of verse 2, when people rose up against us, beginning in verse 3, then they would have swallowed us up alive when their anger was kindled against us. Verse 4, then the flood would have swept us away. The torrent would have gone over us. Then over us would have gone the raging waters. By the time you get to the Revelation, the waters will be a metaphor for, as David has already said, people groups who are looking to consume and quite possibly eliminate Israel altogether, helping us to understand that some of the conflicts we see today go back thousands. Did I say thousands? Thousands of years. But as I mentioned, the thing that probably caught my attention most is an interesting contrast to those verses 3 through 5, when in verse 7 he says, we have escaped like a bird from the snare of the fowlers. The snare is broken and we have escaped. And so the thing that caught my attention seemed to be the way in which God takes a people who are trying to completely eliminate Israel. And he does not simply deliver Israel under David's rule from their enemies. He breaks the snares that were set for them. And so it reminded me that in life, there are times when God can deliver us from the traps set for us. But even better, there are times when he can just flat out break the traps of those who are looking to break us. And so my prayer for you is my prayer for me. As we often say, may we live the kind of lives that would encourage God too. And then we fill in the blank in this psalm. May we live the kind of lives that would encourage God to not only deliver us from the traps set against us, but that would encourage him to completely break the snares of those looking to essentially break us.